it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com. It's the middle of July 2021 and it's time for another garden tour brought to you by my sponsors, Vessi Seeds and Safer's Gardening Products. Almost all the seeds in my garden are provided by Vessi Seeds, and if I got a pest problem and it doesn't sort itself out on its own, I resort to using the products provided by Safer's to deal with it. So anyway, the goldfish are doing great. The little hose thingy I've got to make that all work is doing a great job of keeping the water levels in the pond good. And the garden is growing like you wouldn't believe. So let's go have a look. Let's go have a look around the garden and let me show you what's happening. All right, let's go. All right, here we are at the entrance, and we got potatoes growing here. Got some nice, I think these are Georgia candy roaster squash growing here, growing great. Despite the relative lack of sunlight, I mean, we got a lot of trees here, right? Big trees all over the place. But the soil's rich, right? That's so important to have the rich soil. It's good soil. This is basically, you know, horse manure. I have not added horse manure here for 3 years. But yeah, still obviously productive. Some garlic here. Potatoes over here. And we'll go this way. This was a lettuce garden. You can see I've got some left over that are going to seed. Now I've got beans growing here. Just bush beans. I think they should make it in time for a harvest because they're a fast-growing bush bean variety. Got some French sorrel and bloody dock and herbs and stuff like that over here. Winter savory. Potatoes are doing really good here in this garden. Flowers, they've already flowered, so I could start harvesting the smaller ones now if I wanted, but I won't. Over here we got, this was a lettuce garden. The lettuce is done. The lettuce sort of finished. You can see it's going to seed there. I'm going to save, this is a variety you can save the seeds of. And I planted spinach, and that's starting to bolt. So we've been eating this like mad the last few weeks. So this garden is basically done. I could maybe plant a fall crop there soon. I'll have to get around to that. The kale garden's looking great. This is a carrot garden, and as you can tell, not so good. So I had the worst year for carrots. I mean, this is the only year I've ever had this real problem. I've replanted my carrots 3, maybe 4 times. I only got a handful growing here. So honestly, I don't know exactly what happened, but I blew it. So in a previous video, I mentioned that I planted these Italian punto dandelion. I planted them in this garden. Planted a whole row of them, and they never really grew. Then I planted something else, and when I was pulling all that out to put the eggplant and tomato there that are there now, I noticed 4 or 5 growing all in one clump of those four dandelions, all growing in one clump, right where I'd planted the Italian punto perennial dandelions. So I moved them over here, and they seem to be doing okay. So I seem to be getting attacked by a slug there right now. Is that a slug? Yes. But anyway, they made it. They're supposed to be perennial, so we'll see. I haven't tried eating them yet. I imagine they taste like dandelions, but I'm more interested in these as an early spring crop because dandelions come in so early. Anyway, beans here coming in good. All my tomatoes, people were asking about the tomato that I tried to save. This is the one I tried to save, and it looks like I saved it because it's doing great. These are a kind of bush variety, almost like a patio variety, but I decided to plant them anyway. You can see they're starting to form up there. These are some tomatoes I just bought at a garden center and transplanted. Same thing with these eggplants. I bought seeds to direct seed, but I just kept procrastinating and putting it off, and ended up just buying transplants and sticking them in the ground. I mean, that's what you do, and that's plan B, right? Always got a plan B. These garlic are maybe ready to harvest in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. You know, once you start seeing the tips turn yellow like that, that means that they're, you know, just about done. More potatoes over here. Oh, oregano. Jeez, I forgot to harvest that oregano. So there's some oregano I need to harvest and dry. I forgot all about it. Unbelievable. This is another failure of a carrot garden. There's some carrots growing here. Part of the problem was that I had a rabbit coming in the garden. I think it was eating them. That's my best guess. I reseeded these, and boy, they were growing. It's like all the ones I reseeded have disappeared as well. I don't know what is getting at my carrots this year. I mean, at various stages in planting these, I noticed them growing and then they would disappear. So yeah, what a disastrous. I love pulling fresh carrots from my garden, and I've always grown them. This year, it's a fail. I mean, I don't know how long I've been gardening, years, and I'm inclined to think there's some thing, maybe, you know, I don't know, something eating them, because they're all gone, except for the few that survived. But who knows? I don't know why. What I know is that I'll have to take a lot more care when I plant them next year. I'll try to write down every reason I think and analyze it later. Beets are doing great. Rhubarb seems to have recovered somewhat from being heavily harvested. Over here we got cucumbers. I got a nice trellis built here now, and I got cucumbers growing down the center. They'll be trained up the trellis. Along the side I've got parsley over here and dill over here, because as you know I make fermented pickles. I probably should have planted the dill further towards the edge, because this makes a lot of shade as it comes in. Same with the parsley. I planted down this line. I planted it like 10 inches from the edge. Should have planted it closer to the edge to avoid the shade that gets cast by the cucumber trellis. But oh well, we'll see what happens. And look at this. There's this is a weed, but a nice head of lettuce growing there that just came up on its own. That's a nice, that's basically a weed, but what a weed to have, what a problem to have, eh? Over here we got the spinach garden that's coming in okay. Not spinach, sorry, there was spinach here, but this was parsnips, and I had to replant them because carrots and parsnips, I really blew it this year. First year ever for a fail on that. But anyway, so these ones, I think these are the originally seeded ones. These are Albion. The ones that were over here were my own saved seed. They never germinated. Right? So you always run that risk when you save your own seeds. You know, the professionals do it well. This is my own saved seed that I've been saving and planting for years, and I don't know what I got wrong this year, but I got something wrong. So I replanted with just the ones that I bought from Vessi Seeds, Albion. They're all coming in. So I don't know if they'll achieve the size of these ones, but you know, we'll see what happens. Now I got a bit of, you know, dill comes in all over the place in the garden. So this time of year, I like dill in my potato salad, and sometimes we cook salmon and stuff like that. So I'm inclined to let it go and just, you know, selectively harvest it so it's not shading the plants growing beneath it too much. A little sense of perennial, give you a sense of where my my grapes are. That's the stage of development of my grapes. Okay. Right, so they're very, very early. Right, here we are, you know, was it June 17th or something like that? Potatoes all along here coming in okay. These raspberries are coming in. They actually look like, I mean, these were just bare root planted, and they're actually producing raspberries, which is amazing. So that's a real bonus. Peas, got these peas up a trellis, and we're basically every 2 days we harvest all the fat ones. You're inclined to pick them like when they're like this, right? Because that's, with a snow pea, you want a relatively narrow pea. But these sugar snaps, you want to let them almost be like a finger, fat and round. They're still tender, and they're still stringless, right? I think these are called super sugar snap. You know, I'm inclined to try different things every year, but I like these peas so much. I plant the same ones every year, and they're really reliable, really productive. I mean, I just have one trellis, right? One trellis, 12 feet long. I got a pea planted maybe every 3 inches along that row. And that's, I mean, all the peas we can keep up with. I have to blanch and store them. There's a lot of peas, right? And then I get the potatoes growing at the bottom, right? So when the peas are all done, roughly speaking, the potatoes will be ready to harvest. It all works out great. Here's the garden where I planted the strawberries. You can see there, I've mulched this with some, just some grass clippings. The strawberries are coming in okay, right? So we should get a decent harvest from them next year. A little bit of weeding needing to be done here. I didn't put the mulch on very heavy, so yeah, any mulch, every single mulch has a certain
thickness where it's good at suppressing weeds. And if you don't have that thickness, then it just feeds the weeds, right? It just helps the problem along. But anyway, this would take like, you know, at this stage, 5 minutes to weed. Zucchini's coming in great. I mulched this a lot heavier. You can see there's fewer weeds. Again, it's just grass clippings, and the grass clippings is a great mulch. Don't let anybody tell you different. Look at the size of these zucchini. Look how healthy they look, right? Like two different varieties here. A yellow one and a sort of, what's it called? Manga? I can't remember what it's called. It's like a Lebanese, some variety they had that I've never tried before. So I thought it was kind of like a lime green colored zucchini. Anyway, they're not, oh, look, there we go. We got a flower. So it begins. Anyone that grows zucchini, there's the part of the summer that's before zucchini, and then there's part of the summer during the zucchini when you can barely keep up with them. I find one bed like this is all the zucchini I can handle. That's a lot of zucchini. More garlic here. If you watch those videos where I was moving squash and stuff, the squash are doing all right, right? I got 4 squash, one in each corner of this garlic bed. So, you know, in a few weeks the garlic will be pulled and the squash should just take over the area. This was a strawberry bed last year. You can see a couple poking out there, but they really didn't come back. So I decided to make it a tomato bed. These are just transplants I just stuck in the ground. They've grown really fast and grown really well. We've had probably the best tomato summer ever here in terms of our growing conditions. It's just been a great summer. This one here seems to need to be staked a little bit better, but we'll get around to that. Over here we got leeks coming in good. Probably need to be thinned. A last ditch effort attempt to plant parsnips along here. They have germinated and they are growing, right? Those are parsnips. All that Swiss chard that I planted underneath a little mini greenhouse over there, it's all been moved, mulched, and it's all, I mean, really vigorous and, you know, healthy looking. So I'm happy with that. The strawberries that I ordered from Vessi Seeds are all here. They're growing great. The plants I stuck aside to go to seed, they have all survived the winter and gone to seed. This is what kale looks like when it goes to seed. It's not ready to harvest the seeds yet, but almost like a bean, right? All the seeds are in this little pod here. This is carrot gone to seed. Down here we got parsnip. This is parsnip that's gone to seed. Hopefully I'll do a better job of saving the seeds this year. And there's another plant down there, salsify, but I can't see it. Blueberries are coming in heavy. I mean, these branches are bent right over with blueberries, right? They're really coming in good. I'm going to have to get some sort of net over these when they start changing color so the birds don't take them out. But I mean, all the branches are bent right over, heavy with blueberries. I think this year, if I can keep the birds off of them, we'll have enough for a pie. And they're beautiful blueberries. More blueberries here. Nice big tomato that one of my neighbors gave me. This is my biggest, best tomato, so I'm gonna have to make better friends with that guy. Maybe he'll give me more of his tomatoes next year, because that's a nice big tomato. I don't even know what variety it is, but man, is it coming in strong. Right, and that's just jammed in the ground here where I normally have strawberries. More blueberries here. Strawberry garden doing great. Apple tree coming along, right? Branches are starting to get heavy with fruit, right? You see the apples forming along there. That's good. Over here we got the sunchokes that I got from chokedup.ca. They're coming in great, looking healthy. They were a bit slow to start, but they seem to be doing really good now. A little bit of weeding needing in the walking path here. This spot always gets weeds. I don't know why. And the more weedy it gets, the more weedy it gets. With sand, if you're using sand in your walking paths, if you let weeds grow, they keep the sand from drying out. They cast shade, which helps other weeds. I mean, there's weed seeds everywhere. They're always carried around in the wind, right? So they're in your sand, but a lot of them just can't germinate properly because the sand is so dry. It doesn't hold water, doesn't have nutrients. But if you let weeds grow and persist, they cast shade on the sand and they allow the sand to stay moist, and certain tenacious weed seeds can get a hold, like this carpet I've got here. So I got to go at that. But, you know, this is like a 30-minute job. Probably will require 30 minutes and 2 beers to get that done. Over here we got a bit of a catastrophe. I had big, beautiful blackberries growing here. And I came out one morning and the blackberry plants, you can see down there, were smashed. All of them smashed. And it wasn't because of wind, because we hadn't had wind the night before. And I set this trail camera up to see what was getting at them. I had it up for about 3 days and there was no change in the status of this. And I brought the memory card in to look at it, and then forgot about it. And I came out this morning and these were even more smashed. So whatever is getting at these, I don't know what, I don't have any pictures of it. I don't have any. It would have been a great video to get, like, I'm gonna guess it's a black bear. It's something big enough and smart enough to sort of deal with this. Right, it's something reaching in through here, putting its head in or putting its arm in. But I mean, it just smashed. These were big, beautiful blackberry bushes full of fruit. Right, here's one of the, and something eating that. Now it could be, I mean, there are moose in this forest. It's like not exactly right here, but not too far off. It's a protected area. It's protected because there's like 50 moose there. So it could be a moose. They destroy things like this. It could be a black bear. I suppose it could be a deer. It's one of those 3 things. You can see the fence is all bent up. And I mean, maybe if I just put another piece of barbed wire there, I don't know what to do. But these blackberries are, we still have a few, right? They were looking so good. And I love blackberries. I was really looking forward. I mean, I had pretty good yield going on here. And a lot of these ones that were smashed down, those are next year's blackberries. So I lost the whole thing. So very, very sad. But, you know, that's life in the big city, right? You can see back behind the fence, right? See how it's all, I don't know how well you can tell that, but it's all pushed down here, right? It's like something, basically I can tell that something's coming up and standing around here. Something big enough to push all this foliage down. I mean, the foliage here is about 3 feet deep, and there's an area here about the size of a bathtub where the foliage is only about 6 inches high for the most part. So something's been in here eating my porridge. So I don't know what to do about that. That's a great thing about having a big garden. You lose one thing, you still got lots of other stuff, so you can be zen about this stuff. I got some tomatoes growing here. These are direct seeded tomatoes. Really didn't do my usual proficient job of direct seeding. I threw some seeds down, put a plastic thing over them, and then forgot about them. And then I didn't think anything was growing, so I planted these transplants that I bought. And then I noticed tiny tomatoes, you know, maybe a month ago. And they're starting to form up. We'll see what happens with them, but, you know, doesn't matter. I got plenty of tomatoes all over the place. So, you know, it's you know, when you have a garden this size, you can play around with things every year and just have a little fun. Partridge berries that I got, lingonberries from Whiffle Tree Farms, are growing great. No complaints there. No maintenance, no work. They just grow. Hopefully I'll get a fall crop out of these. The beets that I weeded seem to be doing okay. And look, there's that, if you watch that, you know, weeding an overwhelming garden type thing. So that area that I completely cleared of plants, all I did was just thin some of these out. I plucked some out and stuck them over here in the ground, right? These 3 rows are just thinnings from over here. I don't know how well the root will form up, but that seemed more expedient. I think in the video I planted seeds, and it was so sunny and so hot, and you know, it's just not going to be easy to get these to germinate. And I've got basically perfectly viable things to transplant over here in the neat thing anyway. So yeah, I just moved them over there. It was really sunny during this. You can see I have these sticks here. I had you know, piece of paper tarp. You know, that's right. I would cover them during the height of the day, right? For about 3 or 4 days, I would cover them during the day and take the cover off around supper time, put it back on after breakfast every single day, until it looked like they could and then there was a nice couple rainy, overcast days, so I took the tarp off and just let them slog it out, and they seem to have recovered. We got some, we got this nice green stuff is the new growth, so they are growing and they have put out roots, and so yeah, it was worth. I mean, this looked, if you watch that video, this was a disaster, and now they're certainly you can see a few weeds, right, but the beets are running the show, right? This is not a land of weeds anymore. This is a land of beets. And sometimes with weeds, you don't have to eliminate every single weed. You just have to make sure the thing you want growing has to be the thing that's out competing everything else for light. If you look along here, there's very few things, with the exception of this, there's very few things that are higher than the beans, right? The beans are winning the light competition. And a few weeds here or there really don't matter. I mean, if you hate weeding, there's some things you don't have to weed meticulously. It's really a question of how much energy and time you want to spend on these things. But, I have found with beets, a few weeds aren't always a big deal. As long as the beet foliage is winning the competition for light, they'll outgrow everything else. They'll do just fine. And I got a little, paper here in between to just suppress weeds between the rows. I have to extend it over here, just haven't gotten around to it. We'll get over here. So this garden was last garden tour, very weedy and not too impressive looking. This is, I think, blue Scotch curly kale that I moved from the other kale bed, 2 months ago. And I moved it and just let this bed go to pieces. And then maybe a couple weeks ago, I came out and just weeded it. It's next time I'm going to let part of my lawn grow a bit, I'm having a hard time sourcing mulch these days, so I'm going to let my lawn grow a little bit so I can just use grass clippings. But I'll mulch this as grass clippings. But I mean, this kale's doing great, right? These plants are, almost, well, that one there is, I'd say 20 inches in diameter and about 14, 16 inches high. That's not bad for July, for where I am anyway. So this is another nice kale garden. Got the Egyptian walking onions over here, just going totally crazy. This is what they do, right? They put these things out, on their stalk. They make these bulbils. Each one of these bulbils could be a new plant. And then some of these, they make another sub shoot with more bulbils. So every one of these can be replanted, not now, but later. Basically when the plant really starts to fall over and fall apart and things are drying out in September-ish. And that's also a good time to share them with people. One bed of these is all you need, right? And they're really like an early season. I'm not really using these too much right now. I'm going to make an omelet this morning and actually use the little bits on the top, right, to do that, because the main stalks have gotten too stiff, right? But yeah, this garden is all the Egyptian walking onion a man could want. And yeah, I will be a river to my people and share these with my friends, right? So, because I got more than I could possibly need now. So they're doing great. Squash garden here, winter squash. I can't remember which one. I think these are sweet mamas, but they're either sweet mamas or butternut squash. Those are the two varieties I planted this year, but doing really good. This is a garden that was made from horse manure years ago, right? And it's always done well. You use horse manure to, I basically put 4 logs down and maybe 2 wheelbarrows of horse manure in that, instant garden. And the horse manure just gets better and better and better and better for quite some time. And you keep mulching it. It's a pretty easy way to start a garden. Always been productive, always done really well. And obviously that's still the case. Here's a garden I did not start with horse manure. I just used the existing soil. And I got some garlic growing here, but they're not, basically these are the least impressive garlic I have in my entire garden. So maybe this could use some horse manure, or, with time, the mulch will break down and feed and improve the soil, but it takes time. This is something people don't really share with you when they're talking about back to Eden, or, whatever catchphrase they're using for the heavy mulch system garden. If you're trying to amend soil if you have soil that's not very productive, and your method of amending it is just putting layer after layer after layer of mulch on, various kinds of mulch, Some mulches are more nutritious than others, of course, but it will work over time. But over time could mean 3-4 years, right? So I've seen enough with this garden. I don't want to, next year could be the year this becomes productive. I planted beans here last year. They did all right. But I think this fall I'm going to put some horse manure or something. I'm going to do something here to give this thing a little bit of a kick. Maybe I'll put a whole bunch of seaweed on or something like that. I find seaweed can be as good as well. Cabbage doing great over here. Potatoes, I think these are red Norlands, doing great. You got the potatoes. I mean, some people mention this sometimes, that their potatoes are getting attacked by flea beetles. Mine always get attacked mercilessly by flea beetles, but it doesn't, generally speaking, I don't find it affects the productivity of the plant. I get a good yield anyway, so I don't care. It's just not worth my time to address it. Just let it happen. Just be zen. There's another bed of squash. I think these are, well, again, Sweet Mama or Butternut. These are the ones I thinned just a week ago. I mean, so just a week ago, each one of these had a squash growing right next to it. Just a week ago. I mean, I filmed, the video was up a couple days ago, but I filmed that a week ago. And within a week, they've doubled in size. Right? I just took away the thing they were competing for. Each one of these squash had one or two right next to it, and I just reduced each of those groupings to one. So I've got 6 here, whereas I had maybe 12 or 18 before. And they've already doubled in size in 1 week. So I love watching squash grow. It grows so fast. Here's this garden that was sort of a crappy garlic garden last year. I've planted beans here because beans grow well no matter how lousy the soil is. The soil is just not great here. So I planted beans here because it's a good thing to plant when you've got lousy soil. But I also let these mustard greens go to seed, and holy Moses, I mean, look at these things. They got to come out. It's just ridiculous, right? I think the seeds are still not fully formed, right? They sort of look like a kale. I mean, it's the same family. They're a cole crop, right? So they look like that, but they're not ready yet. They're still not ready to be harvested as a seed. And just for those that are interested, when you're planting these dry out, but the seed pods really don't come out of or the seeds really don't come easily out of the pod. You can get them out, but they don't come out easily. So when I plant them, I just break pieces of the pod up, stick them in the ground, pod and all, and they seem to do just fine. Anyway, letting these mustard greens go to seed is definitely casting shade on the rest of this garden and affecting the ability of the beans to grow, but it's fine. I don't care. Just take a look out here. This garden that I sort of created outside the fence. The potatoes are doing great. You can see potatoes over there and right here. They're doing good. I mean, they're not the greatest potatoes ever grown, but they're doing fine. And I'll get a yield from that. The pumpkins, I got 3 pumpkin plants there. They have not done exceptionally well. Now there's shade here, right? I mean, and last year where the pumpkins are was a potato garden, and they were mulched heavily. So I've been using various kinds of compost tea and stuff to sort of amend. I'm just going to assume that the soil here, I mean, the soil here is just the soil that's all these weeds and stuff, right? So just kind of running on the assumption that the soil isn't that productive, that nutrient rich. And so maybe once every 2 weeks I pour some sort of diluted something in here, usually some sort of compost tea, to just give them a little taste of something. And they seem to have responded to that, so I'm going to stay with that program because they're doing better than, they've already doubled in size from last week, and they really hadn't been growing that much. Finally, the terrace garden. And it looks like the terrace garden of an abandoned civilization, given all the weeds up here. And I'm reluctant, I've got shorts on there right now, and I'm reluctant to go in and get, for fear of ticks. But yeah, nothing in this garden is growing well. The peppers look pathetic. The basil doesn't look that good. Nothing has a nice green color. Everything sort of looks faded. The squash I just showed you that were big and huge, these were thinned and pulled out of that garden 2 months ago. So they're, less than a tenth the size of their friends, right? And you see how light they are in color. So I mean, there's one argument. The problem is not a lack of sun, because this is a south-facing slope. So either the soil is lacking in nutrients here. And this was heavily mulched last year, and it's heavily mulched this year with a good mulch. But I mean, look at it. I mean, mulch is great for maintaining a good soil, but it takes time for a mulch to improve a subpar soil. Down here, it's hard to see, but down there is the garden where I've got my leek growing. This garden here was sort of like a terrace garden. It was built on the slope of this hill. And it took years for it to be very productive, let's put it that way. And when I would plant squash in, I don't know, it's hard to see. I'd have to fall off the cliff here. But when I would plant squash in this bed, it would look exactly like these squash, right? So I'm inclined to think either the soil doesn't hold water, and I mean, it's on a slope. Every time it rains, the water comes down the slope. Either the soil doesn't hold water, which I don't think is the problem, because I've been checking it from time to time. It's, you know, it's certainly moist right now. I don't think that's been the problem. I think it's a lack of nutrients. So like the pumpkins that I'm growing over there outside the garden, I think these just need, you know, some sort of fertilization, regardless of the method, right? So when I'm making up my vats of compost tea for over there, I'll just make some more for here. Interesting to see how they respond to that. You know, it probably couldn't hurt to remove some of this foliage and stuff. It's got to be casting some shade, right? Yeah, really, really subpar. Unbelievably, with all the beautiful sun we got here. But it just goes to show you how important good soil is. I mean, I'm drawing the conclusion that it's the soil, because I don't think sun and water are a problem. It's all I've got. It's the only thing left. So yeah, you know, things aren't working in your garden. You just keep plugging away, keep trying. Even if these don't give me a good yield this year, I'll learn from this, right? So yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Right, so that's where we are here in the middle of July 2021. You know, just about everything's doing as good as I could possibly expect. A couple things haven't gone so well, but that always happens every year. And those are learning opportunities. That's the best way to view it. You jot down every reason you could possibly think that thing went wrong. And in those cold winter months when there's nothing to do, you do some reading and you try to solve the problem using you know, the best knowledge resources you can find that are out there. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. And don't forget to click the bell so you know when I drop a new video. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching. Hey folks, if you want to help support my podcast and my YouTube channel, check out my sponsors, Vessi Seeds and Safer's Gardening Products. For Vessi's, go to their website, vessis.com, use my coupon code GAVS21, and you'll get free shipping as long as there's a pack of seeds in your order and you don't have an oversized item in your order. Just check out the description. The details are in the description box of this video. If you want to buy stuff from Safer's Gardening Products, you can buy all the things I use from Vessi Seeds and you'll get free shipping that way. They sell BTK, slug and snail killer, and the end all that I use. Just check out the tools and accessories link on their website. But you can also, if you're in Canada, you can buy Safer's Gardening Products from woodstreambrands.ca. If you have an order over $69, you'll get free shipping on that. They got a wide range of products, goes well beyond the 3 things I use. I only buy things for the problems I have, right? So I don't, but they've got all kinds of products for beetles and things like that. If you're in the US, go to saferbrand.com and buy your stuff there. That's the US, if you're in US, buy from that website, order online. They offer free shipping on all orders over $45. I assume that's $45 US. So yeah, if you want to help support the channel and the podcast, they sell something you need, buy it from them. That'll help support everything I'm doing here. Thanks a lot.